Before I formally begin, I just want to highlight that this is like the third or the fourth time in the past like 6 months that I've tried to make this video, which just goes to show, I think, just how difficult it's been to come to this decision and how much back and forth there's been. But now I feel very confident in what I'm about to do or what I'm not about to do in the next 6 months or so regarding my career. And so I feel like now is as good of a time as any to make this video. If you've been following me on Twitter and Instagram, you've probably also seen these sentiments in the past 6 months or so. But I feel like because I've made this platform on YouTube and not everyone on YouTube might follow me on those platforms, I figured I should probably give the YouTube followers some explanation. Because I know I have talked a lot about, becoming a professor on this channel and pursuing an academic career a lot on this channel. And because that's now changed, I feel like I should be forthright and just be honest as to why I don't want to do that anymore. And I just want to state that, I had a hard time making this video too, because I felt like I was letting a lot of people down, honestly, by coming to this decision. But I do think it's what's best for me personally, and I hope you can understand, and I will use this video to explain and hopefully help you understand as to why I think this is the best decision for me moving forward. And before I continue any further, I also want to say that, in all honesty, I think I've had one of the better PhD experiences that anyone could have ever asked for. I've had like a very supportive PhD advisor, a really great group to have worked in. The program at UCI has taught me a lot. I've gotten to learn so much more about physics. Since I was an undergraduate, that's exactly what I wanted to do. And, I don't regret at all joining the program at all to get a PhD and finishing it this upcoming June. So I just want to put that out there first and foremost. It's not because I have any problems with anyone. It's just because I feel like the whole process, this whole journey in academia to reach that coveted position of becoming like a tenured faculty is just, after some thought, it's just not the route that I want to do and what I want to spend the next, dozen years of my life doing. So let's get into it, shall we? Like I just said, the timeline of becoming a professor, if you're not aware, at least when it comes to the system in the United States, it requires you to first do several years of postdoctoral work after you get your PhD. I think it's about 5 years on average in physics and astronomy. These are these temporary positions that help you build your research portfolio and do more research projects, sort of separate from your PhD advisor, to sort of separate yourself and establish your own independent, researcher identity. And then after the postdocing is done, you get your first shot at being a assistant professor at a university, and then it would take about approximately 7 years or so, maybe give or take a few years, to finally reach that tenured position if you are super productive and, not let go by the university because you didn't make tenure. Now, I sort of did the math on this, and it would take, if I was just doing sort of the average amount of time for these things, which is what I've been doing throughout my academic career so far. I did 4 years in undergrad, going to do 6 years in grad school. If we do 5 and then 7 more years after that, that puts me at around like 40 years old. And, I've been thinking a lot about, what I've been doing over the past 5 years in grad school. And I have enjoyed parts of it for sure. Like, I have really enjoyed getting the chance to teach undergraduates, be a one-on-one tutor for some undergraduate students in physics, be part of a couple of mentoring programs, mentoring summer undergraduate research projects, and getting to go to a bunch of conferences and different observatories and meeting so many amazing people in physics and astronomy. Like, I love all of that. Those are the things I'm going to like really miss a lot. Really, the motto in academia, for those of you who haven't heard, is publish or perish. What publish or perish means is to effectively, just as the name suggests, publish a ton of papers or see your academic career perish right in front of you. There's also a component of writing a lot of applications to ask for grant money from different organizations to fund your research, especially if you're like a professor who needs to fund graduate students to, contribute to a research project. And the more that I saw like what, an academic is expected to do to sort of stay in the system, like just writing a bunch of papers and applying for a bunch of grants, I just just couldn't see myself doing that. And that wasn't the part of, science that I was really exposed to as an undergraduate. Like, I was just taking classes and, I got to do research, but I didn't really get to see sort of behind the curtain, sort of what is it that really keeps you in the system. And I feel like the more as I, grew as a graduate student and as a researcher, the less I felt enamored about the stuff that actually sort of counts for stuff. Because, I liked the tutoring and the mentoring and the teaching and making the YouTube videos. In all honesty, like none of that stuff, I think, mostly counts towards me staying in academia. I think there is a movement to, incorporate some of those aspects a bit more than just, pure research. But I think that unfortunately the sort of the status quo of academia still dictates that you do sort of the, expected things like writing papers and submitting grant applications and stuff like that. Those are still like, those still count for the most important parts of the job. So yeah, I mean, I just realized I didn't really like want to do that anymore. I feel like from what I've seen, it seems that a lot of professors don't even have a chance to sort of just do actual research. Like they have so many other responsibilities besides like researching. Like they have to like supervise other people's projects, they have to teach, they have to write all these applications, they serve on different committees within the department and outside of the department. It's just so many different like hats they have to wear. And, a lot of people love that part of the job. And for me, I just don't see myself really enjoying that. I really like, I don't know, I just want to be able to do science at the end of the day. And it seems like as a professor, that's kind of in short supply, unfortunately. I might be wrong in other sciences, but at least from what I've seen in my own experience, it does seem that professors have little time to actually do much of the science themselves. So that's one major reason as to why I think that route is just not meant for me. I also feel like at different points of graduate school, I just was really pushed into like really like bad habits out of necessity, like poor eating habits and sleeping habits, feeling pressure to like just like work all the time. It really does at times feel like I was not the best version of myself being a graduate student. And I think it was because becoming a graduate student was becoming like my whole identity, and that's just not who I am at my core. Like I am not just a graduate student in physics. I love physics, I love math, I love astronomy, but it's not who I am completely. And I think that's another one of the reasons why I don't think academia is really the best route for me moving forward, because I don't see that getting any better as I progress. If I progressed, I only just see that getting worse in the sense that the higher you get up, the more is sort of just asked of you to make academia more a part of your life. And I do know there are a lot of people who are successful at sort of balancing those two things and separating those things out. But I don't know. I feel like I worked really hard at a lot of different points in academia, in grad school, and it still feels like it wasn't enough. And, I should have just been doing more. And I just really don't like that feeling of that I'm not doing enough, even if I'm pouring, my literal heart and soul into something. Another part of sort of the academic journey that I've just really not found appealing is this idea that you kind of just have to go where the jobs are, in terms of like, if you want to do a postdoc, you kind of just have to apply everywhere, like, both in the United States and, around the world. And you kind of just hope to grab something that is available, and that could just be, anywhere really. And I think I've just come to the realization that I just don't really want to have to live anywhere, even if it is only for a temporary amount of time. And like all of the moving that would be required and sort of the uprooting and, making connections, leaving them behind. And it just, I feel like it's just not something I want to do, frankly. I find it difficult to see myself in, over the next dozen years being fully happy and fulfilled if I'm, constantly on the move. And if I'm not really sure about like my future and like whether or not I get to stay, like academia is like this game of where you just string your lucky victories from one to the other. I mean, if you look at my academic stat line, like all the different, um, applications, I had posted this on Twitter the other day, but essentially I just posted like, how many applications did I get an acceptance for out of the total amount of applications I submitted for like college apps, grad school apps, fellowships, REUs, research experiences, and postdoctoral appointments, which I just actually got my last one yesterday, which was a rejection, unsurprisingly. So this is kind of also why I'm making this video, because I got rejected from all of my postdocs. To be honest, my heart wasn't fully into it, which is probably a good reason as to why I shouldn't do one. But I had come to the point where I was like, okay, I've gone this far. It'd be my first time on the academic job market. I feel like I owe it to myself to at least just put a few applications out to try and be a postdoc at places that I would want to be a postdoc at. And if I don't get any, then I'm just going to do something else. And that's exactly what happened. So I essentially applied to very few amount of places that I thought, I could see myself working at as a postdoc, but not many more beyond that, or any more beyond that, really. And I didn't get any of them. So it is just official now that I won't be doing anything academic after I graduate with my PhD. So part of the reason why I wanted to make this video now. But yeah, so as I was saying, academic stat line, like you kind of just need to string all these opportunities, these very few opportunities that you might be lucky to get. Like for me, I got into one college, I got into one graduate school, I got into like one REU that I applied to outside of my university as an undergrad, like a research experience. So, I've had these very, statistically improbable opportunities, and I feel like I have just been so blessed and so grateful for the chances I've had to really pursue physics and astronomy to this level. And I've just kind of run out of those opportunities, unfortunately. And like I said, my heart wasn't really into it anyway to like make it into the postdoc stage, which I think was just a big indicator that I shouldn't have been doing it in the first place and applying. At the end of the day, I think that's just what it comes down to. My heart's just not really into it anymore. And, I'm a competitive person. Academia is a very competitive environment. But when I don't really have that sort of fire or that drive to compete and like really put my best foot forward and, offer, the best of my skills, it doesn't feel fulfilling. And, I feel like people who do have that drive to keep going and, stay in academia should be the ones who get to stay. So that's just kind of how I see it. Despite all the negative things that I've said, like I still think my PhD is totally going to be worth it. I've like developed a ton of skills, interacted with some of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my entire life, made some amazing friends, just all around, I've had a really great time, and I will miss a lot of things. Like I will miss the mentoring and the teaching, but that's one of the great things about YouTube that I really like, is that I actually get to, make the content that I think is interesting. And if I want to make a video about some physics concepts or math concepts, I can do that. And like, I'm not restricted by like a syllabus or something, or like a specific class. I can sort of just put out whatever I feel like doing, which is why I think, because I won't be in an academic setting anymore after this year, I think that's why I'd love to give back more into YouTube and using it as a platform to really harness my love and my energy towards, physics education, astronomy education, that kind of thing. So yeah, I really would like to do that, but first I have to sort of figure out what I'm doing next, which I don't really know what I'm doing next, honestly. That's kind of the big question that's up in the air. Where do I go from here? I'm probably going to pursue opportunities in sort of, we call it industry roles if you're from sort of the academia world, but yeah, sort of industry, private sector kind of roles. Been leaning hard towards like data science, which is very interesting and uses a lot of the skills that I've developed during my PhD. But again, I haven't really made any concrete decisions about that yet. I still have to finish up this PhD first of all. But while I'm doing that, I will be, especially near the end of the program, I'm going to be looking at different job opportunities and stuff like that. I've been asked the question if like, would I go back to academia after a break? Like maybe I just need a break. Like maybe, I'm feeling kind of burnt out after 6 years, after like 6 years of grad school, 4 years of undergrad back to back, and then all the schooling that predated that. Like I've been in like a school setting for like since I was like 4 years old. So it'll be like 23, 24 years. Maybe I just, you know, deserve to have a break because I had no like gap years or anything like that. Um, maybe, maybe what I do need is just a break, but how long? No idea. And would I ever go back to academia? I never like to like close the door on anything. Not that I would be the one closing the door. I have been told that once you leave academia, there is this sort of feeling that once you leave, you really can't come back just because you aren't seen as committed or driven or whatever. I would not rule out the possibility of me trying to come back at some point later down the road in life after I've experienced other things and I feel like I need new challenges again. I really do feel like this period in my life now, as I'm nearing the end of my program in the next like 4 months or so, it's really about finding new challenges and new problems that I find interesting to solve. I'm looking forward to it, honestly. It's been a lot of struggle coming to this decision. I feel like I've sort of given up a part of myself, sort of letting this sort of dream die, having somewhat of an identity crisis going through all this, like, oh man, who am I without physics and astronomy and not being in a school setting anymore? And honestly, though, it does feel a bit liberating, and it feels like the possibilities are now opening up again. Like I feel like if I stayed in academia, the subset of my possibilities was quite small, but now that I'm going to exit it now it's just like who knows what I could get myself into after this. So yeah, I'm really excited to enter this new phase of my life soon, and I'd like to share part of that journey with you on YouTube. It might not be the typical content that has been on this channel for the past 3 years or so, but I hope you guys will still enjoy it nonetheless, because I'll also, of course, have physics stuff on here. I can never get rid of physics. It is a very, literally and metaphorically, it is a part of me. So I don't think I could ever stop making content for physics on this channel. Before I end this video, I just want to say thank you to all of you on YouTube who have been watching me for the past 3 years or so. I'm sorry if, this is kind of coming as a shock and maybe a disappointment to some of you who are hoping to see me go through this whole journey in academia. But I hope you can understand now that I don't think it is the best decision for me. But I do encourage you to pursue your dreams, whatever they are. And if you really feel like academia is the place you want to be, then, go for it. I say, go for it for as long as you can and as you want. And I really hope that you get to achieve whatever you're trying to achieve. I'm just trying to do the same with my own life, but in a different setting now. So yeah, I think that is it for the video. It was kind of long and rambly, but I think I got my points across somewhat decently. So thank you for watching. Like I said before, means a lot. And I am looking forward to the next phase of my life. Don't know what it's going to entail. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to share it with you, and I hope you'll stick around to see what's coming next.